Should gays and lesbians be allowed to marry like everybody else? Or do we need a U.S. constitutional amendment banning same-sex marriage? We'll debate it all up next on Real Life. It all began about a month ago when the Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court cleared the way for gays and lesbians in that state to marry. The court ruled that government attorneys failed to identify any constitutionally adequate reason to deny them the right. Then the mayor of San Francisco, the gay epicenter of the West Coast, began marrying thousands of same-sex couples, and the mayor of New Paltz, New York, began doing the same thing on the East Coast. This week, Portland, Oregon started issuing marriage licenses to long lines of same-sex couples who sang Chapel of Love as they waited, and the mayor of Nyack, New York, was to start marrying same-sex couples today. President George Bush has weighed in, saying we need a U.S. constitutional amendment defining marriage as only that union between a man and a woman. Come on, George, Dick Cheney's daughter is gay. There's now a website, dearmary.com, urging her to apply pressure to Republicans to change their stance. And meanwhile, states' rights activists are saying this is not a federal issue. Let each state do as it chooses. So what do you think? Should same-sex couples be allowed to marry like everyone else? Or is this an abomination against nature? Give us a call. We'll be right back.
If we are to prevent the meaning of marriage from being changed forever, our nation must enact a constitutional amendment to protect marriage in America.
Okay, those are the words of President George Bush on his proposed constitutional amendment to define marriage. Change the Constitution. Welcome back to Real Life. Should gays have the right to marry legally? And if not, should the Constitution be amended to ban gay marriage, make marriage only between a man and a woman? We are live and taking your calls. Joining me to discuss and debate today's topic, Lynne, president of the New Jersey Family Policy Council. He supports President Bush's proposed constitutional amendment and opposes giving gays the right to marry. Also with us, family law attorney Lynne Gold Bikin. She opposes President Bush's proposed constitutional amendment and supports giving gays the right to marry or have civil unions. Before we get started, we want to invite you to take the Real Life web poll. Log on to www.cn8.tv/real life. The question: should gays have the legal right to marry? Log on and tell us what you think. Okay, Lynne, what do you think of these long lines of gays and lesbians with flowers and candles and kids in tow, now taking advantage of some mayors
breaking the law? I think it's sheer anarchy.
Anarchy?
It's anarchy in the streets for mayors to go ahead and perform marriages when clearly in those states marriage is delineated as being between one man and one woman. And until such time as the law is changed and it's legal to do so, those mayors are breaking the law.
But of course, you know, now some state constitutional definitions of marriage seem a little ambivalent.
Well, I don't think so. I mean, California was very clear with Proposition 22. The people spoke, and even in California there, I believe the vote was, I think 63% supported Prop 22, which stated that marriage would be one man and one woman, and so now this mayor is going against that.
But I took a look at, I think Oregon, they had the Oregon statute up, or whatever it was, and it said you had to be over the age of 17, but it didn't say one man, one woman.
Well, I think the situation here is that for the longest time, it's just been understood that marriage, the word marriage means the coming together of the two sexes, male and female, in the bond of matrimony. So it didn't, in some states, it didn't have to be clearly defined, but obviously we've gotten to the point now where it does have to be clearly defined, and henceforth a call, and you made one little error.
Yeah.
When you opened up, and I don't mean to be hostile here, but okay, all right.
Yes.
But it wasn't George Bush that's calling so much for a constitutional amendment. It's the people that are calling for a constitutional
he was quoted,
amendment.
darling.
That was him.
Well,
Okay,
right, because he's
he's
responding to the people.
No, he's not responding to the people.
Sure he is.
He's responding to the fundamentalist right whom he needs to be elected.
Right.
And that's not.
Now I get a chance. The fundamentalist right wing told George Bush that if he did not come out for a constitutional amendment, they would sit out this election. That's his base. He can't afford that. But let's be real here. Bob Barr, and by the way, Vice President Cheney, a year ago, who are not exactly closet liberals, both came out and said that a constitutional amendment is not necessary because the Defense of Marriage Act, proposed by Bob Barr, who had been married 3 times, and Bill Clinton, who, while I loved him as a president, was not exactly faithful to his marriage, both of them
not the world's best husband.
Right. Both of them acknowledged the fact that it was a states' rights issue and that each state could define marriage as they chose to do it. So Bob Barr, who brought that amendment out, is the one who said you don't need a constitutional amendment. This is a right-wing push to socially engineer this country, and it is enough.
Okay, I want to go to the phones. Ida, hi.
Hi.
Your thoughts?
I'm against gay marriages. I don't think it should be legalized.
Okay.
I view marriage as a sacred constitution between a man and a woman, and biblically it's founded that way, and I just am so against it. I think it's wrong, and I feel if we go ahead and say gays it's okay to get married, then where does the line stop? Should I go ahead and be allowed and privileged to go marry my dog because I want to become one with them?
Oh, you know what?
That argument is so beyond everything.
It does disturb me, that argument,
No,
because
it's
it
not.
says,
It's
well, it
valid.
says,
It's valid because people have already
that a human
applied
being
for
is
to marry more than 2 people. Polygamy.
Polygamy. And
That's right.
Well, polygamy is a religious tradition that dates back to the Old Testament, right?
But polygamy
Before,
was not
by the
allowed
way.
in the United States. It was one man,
me,
one
it
woman,
was
and
allowed.
one of the
Well, the
issues
Mormons
for
did it.
Utah to get into
1890.
one of the issues for Utah to become a member of the states was that it had to outlaw polygamy.
So Americans are not into polygamy.
They're not into polygamy,
Well,
and they're not into
ridiculous.
same-sex
They're
marriage.
all over,
they
wait,
want to make
Len,
sure that
it's
marriage
all
is
over
one
Utah.
man,
No, they
one
don't.
woman.
No,
That's
your
it.
group does.
No.
The fact is,
The
they're polygamous
majority of
groups all over
Americans.
Arizona. Don't say
Lynne.
that. Don't say that.
65 to
no,
70%. That
that's
doesn't
wrong.
constitute a majority?
Well, I don't know where you get your figures. You can make them up just like the right wing
Gallup
always
poll?
makes up.
Is the Gallup poll not a...
Len, do I get to answer you? Or you just
Go ahead.
keep
Okay,
on
go
talking.
ahead.
The fact is, there are polygamous marriages all over Utah, also Arizona. They're now, many of the cults have moved into Mexico and
But
Canada.
exactly what's your point with this? I'm
My
not into
point
polygamy,
is-
I got to say.
Yeah, well, either am I into polygamy. The fact is, what we're talking
One
about
husband.
is a couple. A couple.
Yes.
You claim that you're for strong families. Gay and lesbians have very strong families. As a matter of fact, the very first couple that was married in San Francisco, I believe, had been together 50 years, which is more than most of the couples that are together today. I mean, the divorces that I see, they're together 2 years, they're together 6 years, and they're multiple marriages. I mean, Elizabeth
We're
Taylor
also
was not on her own.
We're also talking about couples coming up, gay and lesbian couples coming up with multiple children.
That's right.
So these are families. Don't you believe we should honor families even if they're same sex?
Well, I believe that the family unit in and of itself, as it was originally designed, and
By
we could...
whom? Originally designed by whom?
Well,
think
we'll
we're saying
look
God here.
By
to a
whom?
supreme being,
No,
God.
we're not. There's a separation of church and state in this country. Remember that?
Not when you get to the situation of where our writings come from, our foundings and our constitutional writings.
so.
But let's not go there.
Judeo-Christian. I want to take another caller. Who do we have? Michael, hi.
Hi.
Yes.
In terms of the argument with, regarding, should gays marry, I mean, I'm a heterosexual male, but I'm actually for the marriage. And the reason why I am is because I really truly believe that this is an issue of love, that marriage is an issue of love, and it's a union between two souls. Personally speaking, I've had the opportunity to meet quite a few couples of same sex. I mean, and the bonds between them are amazing to me. And really, it just seems to be no different to me than that of my own mother and father, per se.
Okay.
I think that the issues are the same. I think that they deal with the same ups and downs. But to me, love is the issue here. And as far as that whole question about the abomination, I really feel that people need to really understand the cultural context in which those scriptures were written. Because when you mention about homosexuality being an abomination, within the same scriptures also mention eating pork as an abomination, or wearing fabric of two different materials as an abomination.
And we should point out that this actually the whole tradition of romantic love and being part of marriage is a relatively new phenomenon. We have to take a quick break. Does it undermine the institution of marriage to let gays and lesbians marry? Give us a call and tell us what you think. Coming up on Real Life on Monday, breaking the aging code. We will talk medical and lifestyle alternatives to minimize the effects of aging. On Tuesday, we're preempted, but we will be back Wednesday with an all-new edition of Real Life.
I don't think that gay couples should be able to get married. Marriage is a sacrament, and that's meant for men and women, so they could bear children and keep life going.
It's their choice, and I think it's a generational thing, and I think that my generation and the newer generation is not as guarded against something like that, and it's a new millennium and a new time to start over, and everybody's got a right to do what they want.
Okay, welcome back to Real Life. Should gays have the right to marry? We are live and taking your calls. My guest today, Lynne, president of the New Jersey Family Policy Council. He opposes giving gays the right to marry. And family law attorney Lynne Gold Bikin. She's a supporter of gay marriage. And Lynne, before we get to the phones, you were dying to say something to our last caller.
Well, you know, I want people to recognize the fact that in 1967, up until 1967, it was an abomination for blacks and whites to marry. And this country thought that we would go to hell if we allowed miscegenation.
As they called it.
Right. Loving versus Virginia, 1967, the United States Supreme Court recognized that we didn't have an equal protection clause for nothing. Well, that's what applies here. The fact is equal rights. And if you want to talk about marriage as a sacrament, as this woman did, that's what happens in the church. What about all the people that go for civil unions? Are they marriages?
Civil marriages, right. And one could well make the distinction between the sacrament of marriage and the legal entity called marriage. Lynne?
Well, there are states, obviously, that have now given domestic partnership benefits or civil unions, but obviously that's not enough. And the thing about
it is enough.
About what you were talking about, the situation there, that did not change the construct of what marriage was between a man and a woman.
No,
it changed the
didn't.
construct of whether it was interrational. But that had nothing to do.
They were saying the same thing then as you're saying today.
But what we're saying, this is a drastic movement away from what marriage is, the coming together of the two sexes, male and female.
That's two sexes, the coming together of two people.
No, you cannot get out of two homosexual men what you can get out of the coming together of a man and a woman.
And what is that?
Which is
baby?
Procreation, baby.
Really?
But
Can you only marry if you're going to have children? What about people who don't want to have children?
No, but that's for most people that do marry, though, the expectation is for children, but it's not a requirement for marriage.
By the way, many gay and lesbian couples either have children. I've got lesbian friends now who are pregnant.
Right.
I also have gay men who get a baby and adopt, and by the way, can also impregnate a woman.
That doesn't
through
make
the
it
artificial
right from the standpoint of what marriage should be.
Why? If marriage is to raise children, which you say, then they're raising children. They're families.
They have the ability to raise children. They have the ability to adopt in some states.
They do.
So
in all
they
states
don't
except
need
Florida, by the way.
don't need marriage. Because
How
marriage,
about the rights? How about the rights of marriage?
They're getting rights
So it's okay.
in
United States
places. But marriage is a heterosexual
Okay, I want to go to the
construct.
phones. We've got Renee. Hi, Renee.
Hi.
Your
how
thoughts?
are you?
I'm okay. How are you? Thoughts?
Oh, okay. I am totally opposed to same-sex marriage. Top line, bottom line, God created the earth. And in Genesis 2:24, he says, "Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh." That's a man and a woman, not man and man or man and female. And when you talk about love, the young lady that's on the show here, when you talk about love, God wants us all to love one another, but the love that he's talking about in this unity here, the sacrament of a marriage, is about a man and a woman. Everybody can love one another, brother and sister, sister and sister, brother and brother, all across the world. That's how he wants us to love each other, but not in the sanctity of marriage.
And Renee, do you think we need a U.S. constitutional amendment to set this straight?
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
Because you're deciding to change the laws up. And she spoke about, well, before God said in the Bible, you can't eat pork.
Yeah, he did.
Okay, that's true. But that's totally different from a man and a female.
Okay, well, thank you, Renee, for your point of view. We're going to go to Joseph. Hi, Joseph.
Hello?
Yeah, your thoughts.
How are you?
Fine, thanks.
Maybe I'm missing something here, and I'm listening to the gentleman on your show, and I strongly disagree with him. Maybe at one time I did oppose same-sex couples marrying, but when you consider the fact and the question you originally asked on your show whether this would undermine marriages between a man and a woman, considering the fact that more than 50% of the marriages in this day and age between a man and a woman end in divorce, I really don't think that would be undermining the institution of marriage at all. Secondly, when you look at the fact, I know there's a lot of same-sex couples in my neighborhood, and my observations are that these same-sex couples are the only people who are adopting needs.
So they are out there providing homes and family life for special needs kids very often.
I'm on the National Adoption Center, and most of the AIDS-afflicted and HIV kids are adopted by gay and lesbians because you and I have discussed this before, because couples, men and women, don't want them.
Well, they're certainly more of a challenge, yes.
Yeah, I want to get back to the point that he said, which was basically that originally he was against same-sex marriage, and then he came to, that it's not going to have an impact. But what we're starting to see in some of the nations in Europe is really a destruction of the family in these countries that have embraced same-sex marriage. We're now seeing the ones with civil unions, domestic partnership benefits, 60% rates of children being born out of wedlock. The family is breaking down.
And that's not a good thing. You're laying it all at the feet of same-sex relationships.
No,
families breaking down in America.
Yeah, families.
I would blame the Republicans blamed it on welfare then.
It's another liberal construct because it was divorce reform, no fault divorce.
So we should keep unhappy people together so the men can beat the crap out of their wives, or the women can have affairs. I mean, come on.
Don't go there with me because I don't agree. I don't agree with that at all.
Oh, so people shouldn't get divorced?
No, we should teach people how to live successful marriages and not seek to have a 50% divorce rate.
What do you do with the philanderers? Listen, I believe in teaching people. You and I have discussed this before. Teaching people how to be married.
Skills.
But you can't keep an abuser from abusing, or an alcoholic from drinking, or a drug addict from doing that, or a philanderer, people who have the zipper problem. You can't make those.
You're absolutely right, and those are very tough social problems.
And lesbian
but they're not responsible
together.
for a 50% divorce rate.
No, they're probably responsible for maybe 30%
or
divorce
much lower
rate.
than that when you get down to those critical issues.
But in terms of affairs, it is true that the affairs numbers in America are pretty high.
Shocking.
Aren't they?
They're shockingly high because there's been a breakdown in the stability of marriage.
But don't blame it on gay and lesbians. Len, don't blame it on gay and lesbians.
I'm not blaming it on gay and lesbians, but what I'm saying, do not go and further redefine.
But are we saying here, are you saying, Len, that American moral fiber is dependent on a narrow and clear definition of marriage?
I think marriage strengthens our culture when we have healthy marriages between a man and a woman.
How about healthy marriages between couples?
A man and Adam and Adam and
It's not a marriage.
Why not?
We got to take a break.
The Bible says it's not.
We got to take a break. Hopefully they won't kill each other during break. Our question to you, is this no big deal? If gays and lesbians want to marry, let them. Call us with your thoughts.
Monday on Real Life, breaking the aging code. We'll have medical and lifestyle alternatives to minimize the effects of aging.
I think that gay couples should be allowed to legally marry if they want to. I feel that it's a personal decision that each person can make for themselves.
Gay couples
couples I can understand have rights. I have a little problem, though, being a Christian with the allowing them to marry. I can understand they have rights as far as medical benefits and inheritance and other issues like that, but I still have a problem with the religious and state aspect of marriage.
Okay, welcome back to Real Life. Should gays have the right to marry? We are live and taking your calls. We're going to go right to the phones. Lillian, you're up.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi. I just wanted to make a couple of remarks. I listened to the young lady, Renee, and she said it so eloquently, and I agree with what she said. And I've also listened to all the pros and cons with your panel there, but no matter what you say, pro or against, the bottom line here is it's an abomination against God. And that's how I feel about that. And also, I saw the sticker today. It says, God created Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve.
That's an old line, but it still grabs them, you know. But you know
I just think, and I have some friends that are gay. They know how I feel.
Right.
We've been friends for a long, long time. They know how I feel. They do have rights. I mean, I work with a lot of homosexual people. I'm glad they're getting medical benefits. But as far as the sanctity of marriage, I think it is wrong, and I think it is.
Okay, go ahead.
How about civil unions? Could you live with civil unions for gays and lesbians?
Silly unions.
Civil unions. Like go to the mayor and get married there. Is that not married, but have a civil union? Would that be okay with you?
No, it would not.
See.
Okay. We're going to go next to Sam. Hi.
Hi there.
Your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm a straight and recently married individual, and I really have to say that this whole argument seems to boil down to the fact that for the religious right, it's just absolutely right or absolutely wrong. It's a very black and white issue for them, and I think that they've really kind of painted themselves into a corner by making it a legal issue now. Now that it's possibly becoming an amendment, it becomes a civil rights issue, and I'm completely for gay marriage.
Okay, I want to let Lynne respond.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
See, I think there's an issue that plays in here that we haven't discussed tonight. Why the federal marriage amendment? We have a judiciary that's out of control and has basically for the past 20 to 30 years been legislating things to the American people that really the American people should have the right to vote on. I'm not going to go to the abortion issue, but that basically was put on the American people by the courts. Now we have judicial decisions trying to throw out the 10 Commandments. We have every vestige of what has been the history and tradition of the United States being taken care of by a rogue judiciary.
Okay.
And this
So
is
it's
the
not
this
only
is
gay marriage, it's the judiciary undermining American moral
something.
But this is the response.
Constitution always gives rights, not take them away.
This is the response that the American people have the right.
This is not the American people. This is the right wing.
This is the right of the American. Well, then the right wing is pretty big because 70 to 75% of the people
as we've gone through the evening, the
are
going
supporting marriage as one man and one woman.
I could even understand that a majority of people would support this notion, but you're excluding citizens who want the right to validate their union and their families.
If you want to make marriages
Lynne.
strong, work on your own marriage. What happens in your house does not affect my marriage. What happens in my house does not affect yours. And the fact is, the Constitution has always given rights. The only time it ever took away rights was prohibition, and look what happened there.
You don't have the right to change what has been a construct in a social institution.
Both. Lively, hot discussion.